Hey, Car Wizard, who do you think has the cleanest interior?
Well, we can sure find out right after this. Welcome back to the Car Wizard shop. Today we're going to take a look at, does Mrs. Wizard have a cleaner interior? Or do I have a cleaner interior in Squirtle? We're also going to go over some things that I have found dealing with this pandemic that we're going through. I'm still open, I'm an essential business, and as I'm pulling customers' cars into the shop, I've had to make some drastic changes, and even on the fly. We're going to show you guys what I've had to do and some tips for you when you go to clean your car, if you're borrowing a car, or if you're going to use a company car, or anything of that nature. So without further ado, let's take a look at Mrs. Wizard's car and see how clean it is. Let's take a look in here. There's a big footprint on the carpet down there. The seats look nice and clean. Some hand sanitizer and different things out, but I can understand that. The dash is clean. The sides are clean. Let's take a look at the back seats. And here we are in the back seat. Huge giant glass up top, big panoramic glass. It looks clean. The seats look clean. There's no trash in the floor. Everything looks pretty clean in here. I think she might win this one. My car is an old beater. This thing's pretty spotless in here. Let's take one last look. Let's look at the cargo area. Alakazam! Again, it's pretty clean. She's got a nice cargo mat here. Some shopping bags. Really nothing, no trash. I'm surprised, Mrs. Wizard. It's very clean in here. Keep a pretty clean car. Let's take a look at Squirtle. It's not so. I have some dirt on the mat down here and some little scuffs here and there, but I don't have a bunch of trash laying around. And for being an old car, it's not too bad. It does look dingy though. The roof looks, the headliner's all dirty from the last person. Let's take a look at the back seat, which is pretty simple. We just look over here.
Car Wizard,
Nice.
did you clean this up any?
No, this is how I keep Squirtle. Squirtle's pretty clean. Let's take a look at the trunk.
The last time I was in here, it was pretty trash. No Alakazam on this one?
No, it's not magical. It's old 1990s technology. It's pretty clean in there.
I know, guys.
Squirtle's not too dirty. You would think it'd be a dirtbag car, but it's not.
The way you got it, it was.
It's not dirty anymore. Let us know in the comments who had the cleaner car. You guys might see something that we didn't see. I think that Mrs. Wizard wins because it's just a nicer car all around. But Squirtle's not dirty. It's not nasty in there. I've seen some nasty cars. I've had some cars in the shop that have actually had to turn down because they were filled to the ceiling with trash bags, with trash in them. So, I think these both are pretty clean, but I'll let you guys decide. See what you think about it. So now we'll actually get kind of to the heart of the matter, and is kind of keeping things clean as far as this pandemic is going, things that you touch. We're not so much really concerned with the interiors, the entire interior, but areas of contact with your hands. I've had to make quite a few changes in the shop, bringing cars into the shop or opening the hoods even, or doing different things inside the interior. So we're working with an invisible enemy. You can't see everywhere that's contaminated. You just have to wipe and clean as if it's completely contaminated. Let me show you some of the things that I've done and some of the things I've learned just in the past few cars I've had to bring into the shop. Let's get some wipes and let's take a look at what I've been doing and what you guys should do. Other than the key, which I'm going to show you guys here in a minute on Squirtle, the first thing I do is I have some disinfecting wipes here. And the first thing I do is wipe the handle down. I'm going to do a few of these that are pretty common sense. It's like, no duh, I already know that. But I'm going to show you guys some areas where I didn't even think about it. So you get that cleaned up, you can open the door. So I wipe the seat down real quick because you don't know if they sneezed on it or Coughed on it. So this is like a vinyl or leather seat that you wipe it down. If it's cloth or velour, there's really not much you can wipe. But I'm wiping this down. We'll grab a new wipe. So like I said a minute ago, you think it's 1 or 2 items you should wipe down, but as I drive a car into the shop, I'm finding so many things that need to be wiped down. Obviously the next thing would be the steering wheel. So there's the steering wheel, and obviously we would know that you should probably wipe down the shifter, so I would do that. Whether it's here or that, wherever the shifter is, you wipe that. And you think, okay, I'm good to go. I've gotten all the contaminated surface or possibly contaminated surfaces cleaned up. You haven't even gotten close. You guys have no idea. Let me show you. So I go for a vehicle test drive. Maybe they're concerned about the turn signals, and then I go, uh-oh. I completely forgot to wipe that down. So I have to get my wipe out, clean the stalks. And maybe you need to look at the mileage with the buttons. You gotta wipe those down. On this car, even to start the vehicle, there's a button you need to wipe down. So you think, okay, I got everything. Now I'm gonna close the door. Uh-oh. I didn't wipe that down. Guys, when people are driving, it's no one's fault. There's no one to blame here. If someone is infected, they may not even know at the moment. And they're not intentionally trying to get you sick. But you have to pretend like you're sick, like they're sick. Everyone's sick. Anything could be infected. So I go to wipe down the door handle.
Car Wizard, you forgot a part.
What's that?
The door release.
Yep, and don't forget the door release. I have already opened a door and I had to re-sanitize my hands again. And clean the door release. So then you think, okay, I finally got everything done. And earlier, I was sitting in a car listening to a noise that with the windows up. And he came up and said something, and I'm like, what? And I go to roll down the window, and I'm like, oh, crap. So I re-sanitized my hands. I sanitized the customer's keypad here with the window switches. Get down inside of them as well, where your finger goes down inside and pulls up. And that takes care of that. This can be used not only during this pandemic, it can be used during a normal flu season or normal anything. If you just don't want to catch anything, you want to keep everything clean. So many things are spread by touch. So you get in the car and you're like, okay, I'm going to test drive this car. I want to listen to some noises and I don't want to hear the radio. So you go to turn it down and you're like, oh no, I did it again. So you get your wipes out. There's so many things, guys, we live in cars now that have buttons and buttons and buttons and buttons. It's almost worth it to just take a wipe and just clean all the buttons. And you would think, well, I'm not going to be touching over there. Yes, you are. You probably will. And you won't even realize it. Clean all the center console buttons, the switches, the dials, the AC, everything. So I was driving a car actually just today, a couple of hours ago, and I was making sure there's no one behind me, and I look in the mirror and I go to adjust it. I made another boo-boo. I don't make these boo-boos anymore. I've got everything down pat. I really wipe the whole car down. But as the learning curve was going, and I'm trying to remember and keep track of everything that needs to be cleaned, I realized that almost the entire driver's area has to be decontaminated. You wipe the back side of the mirror, anywhere where someone grasped. Because you think a person can sneeze in their hand or cough in their hand, and anything is fair game, even the sunglasses holder. You want to wipe that down. The sunroof or the sunshade. The buttons for the dome lights. The list goes on and on and on and on. Let's head on over to Squirrel. I'm going to show you guys a few more things with the disinfecting and also some tips on the interiors of European cars.
Hey, Car Wizard, before we go over, I gotta thank you.
Why?
You just cleaned my car.
Yep, it's disinfected, most of it.
Thank you.
Squirtle has a few features inside of the car that it didn't have in Mrs. Wizard cars much, or it didn't show. Another thing is I needed to get the owner's manual out of a customer's vehicle because I wanted to look up a reset procedure. And I didn't even think, and I went right over and opened, and I caught myself again. More sanitizer. I had to get a new wipe. Sanitize their glove box so that I'm not contaminated their car or they're not contaminating me, vice versa. Again, there's the shifter, the emergency brake, and the armrest. They might have sneezed and got some right here on the armrest. You want to clean that. Just like I showed over there in Mrs. Wizard's car, all the little dials, all the knobs, all those things are really important. And like I said a minute ago, I was going to talk to you about the keys. I have the customer set the key on the counter, and I have a set of gloves, and I grab the key, and I disinfect with Lysol the whole key set. I wipe it down with some wipes. All the keys, not just the one I'm using. It takes extra time, but it's what you got to do. On this type of a key, you're not done. It's a switchblade type key. Clean that as well, because you're probably going to touch that. Then the key's ready to go. Two last things I want to show you guys. The headlight switch, if you want to test the bulbs, and also the sun visors. You want to clean them off. Every time you drive your car, and if you're the only one in your car, you don't need to sanitize it every time because nobody else is in the car but you. Now, if you go to the store and you go shopping, you just touched a bunch of areas that could be contaminated, a bunch of surfaces. So before you touch your car, you want to use some sanitizer and clean your own hands, clean your keys, anything that you've touched before you touch your car. And if you do make the mistake of not sanitizing your hands before you get in your car and you're here touching, you will have to sanitize your car all over again because you don't know exactly what you touched. You don't want to take the chance and say, oh, I forgot to just one little button, guys. One little button that you forgot to sanitize. That's all it takes. You touch that, then you scratch your eye, boom, you got it. Now there's one last thing I want to show you, and it's not really so much to do with the pandemic, but it's going to be involved if you're cleaning with the pandemic. Be careful what you're using on the finish inside of your car. Most European cars, especially some of the 2000, 2001, and 2, and I think even Mrs. Wizard Land Rover would be this way. These surfaces that are beige, they're not fully beige all the way through. It's been painted. And even if you're not dealing with a pandemic, I've had employees or people in the past that get some grease or a smudge, and they use harsh chemicals. This is brake cleaner. I'm not too concerned about Squirtle because its interior is not that great. But you go there and start scrubbing something off, and you can see it's peeling. The paint, I can take my nail through it. See it? Do you see that, guys? It's nothing but white plastic underneath. White, like milk, totally white. You can sit here and keep rubbing and rubbing. You'll rub down all the way to the white plastic. Obviously, I'm using something really harsh like brake cleaner, but be careful. If you've got some disinfectant, test it in an inconspicuous area and make sure it's not rubbing your finish off. Wouldn't it be really horrible if you soaked your whole dash and wiped it down and it peeled the paint off or hurt the rubber, damaged your leather? That's something we're not thinking about. We're so rushing to disinfect our car and we're like, oh crap, I just ruined the finish on my dash. Or test a small area first to see how it's going to go, and if it doesn't hurt your car, then you're free to use it all over the place. But just be really careful with that. I've had people do that. You have to either refinish the whole panel or buy a new one, because you can't just spray a small area. It'll never look the same again. In case you think you want to soak your rag in bleach or bleach water and wipe everything down, that could fade the paint. Remember, guys, this is paint. That is not solid tan plastic all the way through. It's just paint. You can completely damage it or destroy it. And this applies to leather as well. You don't want to put bleach on leather. It could damage it. We're at the Ferrari 550 and we're getting close to being done. I'm waiting for some parts to finish up the fuel pumps. And we're going to do another video for you guys. But I wanted to show you guys something with disinfecting if you have a collector's car or an exotic or sports car. Especially Italian sports cars or exotics. Alfa Romeos, even a Fiat, Ferraris. They tend with age to get what's called gummy buttons. The buttons are almost like a gummy bear. They're squishy. The rubber deteriorates or whatever over time. You don't want to put harsh disinfectant on and wipe your buttons. You could completely take the finish completely off the button. Where it was looking pretty decent, now it's ruined. And that button could be $200 for one button. So be careful when you're inside of an exotic car. They're not exempt from that. Some of you guys may take your Ferrari or your Lamborghini out to go for a drive, stop at the gas station and get a snack, and next thing you know, you touch the counter at the store, and now you're touching stuff. You need to disinfect it. You could still get sick from a Ferrari, just as well as a Honda. Be careful with your gummy buttons. I would say just dab them. Dab it like this, disinfect it. Don't wipe, don't rub it hard. That's something to keep in mind as well. One last thing that you don't want to forget when you're disinfecting the interior of your car is the seat belt. You want to make sure you disinfect all contact points, the latch, the buckle, and even the belt itself, because you could sneeze or someone could sneeze on it and it needs to be disinfected. There are times when there's a company car, multiple people are using it, or maybe you're out and about and you're touching things at the store, just like we talked about a minute ago. You can recontaminate your clean car all over again. Or someone else could borrow your car and contaminate your car. So make sure you keep that in mind. So I'm glad you guys could follow along. Hopefully there's some tips that can help you. As I've gotten my routine down, I've really gotten good at this, but I am really shocked at how much I have to clean on every single car that comes in here. I spend literally 10 minutes wiping, cleaning buttons and switches and dials and seat belts. It's like, wow, this is crazy, but it's got to be done. And we're happy to do it. We want to do everything right here, so. And if you guys are sitting at home, you don't have anything better to do, go disinfect your entire fleet of cars. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars. Go clean them all up. You don't know if they're contaminated or not. And there's always spring cleaning. We're in the spring season. Might as well disinfect your car. Thanks guys for checking out my Amazon affiliates page. There's all kinds of really cool tools to help you guys out there. I've been appreciating that. I've added a few items that are safe for cleaning your car. You can use them in decontaminating or just cleaning in general. Also, check out my articles and videos on Auto Trader Oversteer. There's a lot of cool content there that is not on my channel. You guys might enjoy that. Click the link below for that. And also, we've had a lot of people watching lately. I'm real thankful for that. Share this video with some of your friends. It might help them out in getting their car disinfected. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, go ahead and do that now. Many more cool videos to come. And thanks for watching.